Catherine takes on the responsibilities for the duchy.
The royal world has been shaken. Today we're diving into a moment that left monarchy watchers speechless, a mix of deep grief and quiet power moves that could reshape alliances behind palace walls. Imagine this scene, the echo of prayers filling Westminster Cathedral on September 16, 2025, as the royals gathered to mourn Catherine Worley, the Duchess of Kent, a woman remembered for her quiet grace and dignity across generations. But right there, in the middle of the sorrow, something shocking happened. King Charles, in a move heavy with meaning, handed the authority of the Kents straight to Catherine, the Princess of Wales, during the very service itself. This wasn't just a gesture, it was history unfolding in real time. And to make it even more powerful, this transfer of authority was the Duchess's final wish, whispered to her husband before her passing. The Duke of Kent, sitting nearby with grief written all over his face, carried that heartbreaking weight while the world witnessed a new chapter opening inside the monarchy. Catherine, calm yet commanding, stepped forward with grace to take charge of key parts of the ceremony, stepping into a role once tied to Queen Camilla, who was strikingly absent from the pews. This wasn't just a gesture of respect. It was a loud statement about Catherine's rising power and the faith the highest figures are placing in her. The symbolism couldn't be clearer. The monarchy's balance is shifting right before our eyes. To grasp the weight of this moment, we need to look back at what made this funeral such a historic event. For the first time in modern royal history, a Catholic requiem mass was held for a member of the family. Catherine Lucy Mary Worley, born in 1933, lived a life of quiet devotion that took a bold turn in 2019 when she converted to Catholicism, a choice that showed just how independent her spirit truly was. Her death on September 4, 2025, at the age of 92 inside Kensington Palace, surrounded by her loved ones, left a mark across the establishment. And as the coffin entered the Grand Cathedral, carried by solemn pallbearers beneath the towering arches, the atmosphere grew heavy with respect, history, and the unshakable sense that a new chapter was beginning.
All our thoughts are with her beloved family, our royal family, at this moment of profound grief. This is a deep and private loss for them.
King Charles stood tall at the front, leading the mourners like a pillar of steadiness, while Prince William and Catherine walked close behind, their faces carved with solemn respect. For days, quiet chatter had spread about the intimate scale of the service, but no one saw this coming. A deeply personal honour that would catapult Catherine's position in the most emotional of settings. According to insiders, this wasn't some last-minute choice. It was born from heartfelt talks in the Duchess's final months, when she voiced her wish for Catherine to carry forward parts of the Kent legacy. And when the moment finally arrived, the Duke, now 89, gave a gentle nod, his silence speaking louder than words, a quiet seal of approval for the transition. This wasn't just mourning. This was a passing of the torch, a bridge between eras showing how the monarchy shifts through careful, deliberate moves. To truly understand how powerful this moment was, we need to look back at the extraordinary life of the Duchess herself, a woman who embodied royal elegance without needing the constant spotlight. Catherine Worley stepped into the royal family in 1961 when she married Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, in a York Minster ceremony that blended old-world aristocracy with genuine warmth. Born into the Yorkshire gentry at Hovingham Hall, tradition was part of her DNA, but her journey still found surprising and fascinating turns that made her story unforgettable. Unlike so many royals who chased the flash of the spotlight, Lady Worley carved out her own lane, choosing depth over display. She became a schoolteacher, a rare move in her time, guiding young minds at London's Kensington High School while still carrying her royal responsibilities. Her love for music also left its mark. As patron of the Royal Opera House and a talented pianist, she would often play at private charity events, bringing elegance and heart to every note. But it wasn't just art and education that defined her. It was her unstoppable compassion. Lady Worley threw herself into causes that mattered, volunteering with the Samaritans and taking on the role of UNICEF ambassador, travelling across the globe to fight for the vulnerable long before it was common for royals to do so. Later years weren't without struggle, as health battles, including bouts of depression, tested her spirit. Yet she faced them head-on, speaking openly and breaking royal taboos, showing strength in her honesty. Even as her public role softened, she never stopped backing the crown, always appearing at state occasions with quiet elegance. Her connection to Catherine wasn't just formal duty either, it was a true bond. They linked through patronages like Wimbledon, where Lady Worley's calming presence for players echoed Catherine's own empathetic style of service. Those close to her reveal that in her final days, the Duchess often praised Catherine's grace, calling her a kindred spirit fit to carry on the Kent tradition of humble yet powerful service. The family didn't miss her admiration for Catherine. It was clear to everyone. As mourners entered Westminster Cathedral, tributes poured in from every corner. Pope Leo's message was read aloud, praising her lifelong dedication to charity, while heartfelt stories from those she touched painted a picture of a woman who quietly shaped lives. The atmosphere, heavy with incense, Gregorian chants rising under the grand arches, carried echoes of centuries-old Catholic ritual, honouring Catherine Worley's later devotion to her faith. Yet behind the ceremony was a very personal layer, her final wish. She wanted Catherine to take on oversight of Kent patronages and household duties, a role designed to ease the load on the Duke in his old age. This legacy wasn't about pomp or show, it was about passing responsibility to someone who knew how to balance duty with discretion. And as the organ's notes swelled through the cathedral, many felt as if Lady Worley herself was there, guiding the moment from beyond. Her life was a lesson in resilience. She faced heartbreaks that would have crushed others, from the stillbirth of a child to the devastating loss of her son in 1994 to substance struggles. But she didn't break. She transformed her pain into advocacy, fighting harder for the causes she believed in. Her final wish, confided to her closest aides, was clear. She wanted the Kent branch's future entrusted to Catherine, the woman she saw as the monarchy's moral compass and steady heart. This moment set the stage for the funeral's emotional high point, where tradition collided with transition in a way that honoured Lady Worley to the fullest. But no account of the Kents is complete without looking at the Duke's rock-solid partnership with his late wife, a bond that lasted more than 6 decades and carried them through the storms of royal life. Prince Edward, born in 1935 as the grandson of King George V, has been a constant pillar in the family since retiring from the army in 1976 and stepping fully into public duty. As the Queen's first cousin, he became her trusted representative at independence ceremonies across the globe, from Ghana to the Pacific Islands, carrying the Commonwealth spirit with dignity. His military years, including his service during the Cyprus conflicts of the 1960s, drilled a discipline into him that shaped the way he carried himself in royal duty. Not flashy, but steady. Not loud, but deeply devoted. Yet time catches everyone. And at 89, frailty has crept in. Recent appearances show him leaning on canes, a softer echo of the vigorous colonel he once was. Still, his marriage with the Duchess remained a quiet anchor amid decades of palace turbulence. Together, they raised 3 children, including the Earl of St Andrews and Lady Helen Taylor, navigating personal challenges like their son's exile from succession after his Catholic marriage. Proof that even in the heart of royalty, traditions can clash hard with personal choices. Through every storm, Edward and Catherine Worley stood as one. Their hand-in-hand strolls near Kensington Palace became a living symbol of loyalty and lasting love. At the funeral, the Duke took his place as chief mourner, his frame still upright and disciplined, even as grief and age weighed on him. He was surrounded by family, including Prince Michael of Kent, who received a rare, tender gesture of comfort from King Charles, a moment that showed just how heavy the loss was for them all. Those close to the couple shared that in Catherine's final weeks, she and Edward spoke openly about the road ahead. The Duke, knowing his strength was fading, agreed to her heartfelt plea to entrust Catherine with the authority tied to the Kent legacy. Catherine had already proven her warmth and respect toward him, especially during their shared appearances like the 2025 VE Day commemoration, where she greeted him with genuine care. This wasn't some last-minute move, it was carefully thought out. The Kent household, long connected with patronages in the arts, veterans' affairs, and international relations, needed a steady hand to carry it forward. Catherine, with her own strong work in early childhood initiatives and mental health advocacy, fits seamlessly into that vision. And as the Duke sat through the service, watching the symbolic handoff, It became clear this was his way of honouring their shared dream and his late wife's final wish. As the Mass continued, with psalms echoing through the cathedral and eulogies spotlighting the couple's shared charitable work, the grief in the air felt deeply personal, and yet it was shaping the future. Edward's small but powerful nod toward Catherine during the service said more than any speech could. It was a father figure's approval, passing the torch to the next guardian of the Kent legacy. In royal terms, that nod carried weight. Catherine now holds advisory roles tied to Kent matters and will represent the Duke at events he can no longer attend. For Edward, it's a lifeline, a chance to focus on preserving his legacy, while Catherine steps forward as the bridge between past and future. That moment crystallized their connection, transforming a day of mourning into one of subtle continuity and hope. The announcement of the Duchess's death on September 5th, 2025, from Buckingham Palace had struck like a quiet wave across the nation, sparking tributes that matched her understated but lasting impact. In the days before the funeral, palace staff moved in a blur of preparation, carefully blending Catholic rites with centuries of royal protocol. Westminster Cathedral, chosen for its deep tie to her faith, became the heart of it all, its grand doors opening to just 500 select guests, including extended family members like the Gloucesters and the Windsors. Whispers floated about the funeral's intimacy, but beneath the surface, the real focus was on the Kent family's future. Catherine's role began well before the service itself. She and William paid a private visit to the Duke, offering comfort while also discussing the Duchess's personal wishes. Wishes preserved in letters she had written during her final months. Those letters laid out a clear vision. She wanted Catherine to take charge of Kent patronages, a choice born out of deep mutual respect between the two women. King Charles, fully briefed during family councils, recognised how this move could strengthen unity across royal branches, especially with the Duke's health in decline. The days leading up to the funeral were marked not by grandeur, but by quiet restraint. No flashy processions, only candlelit vigils and heartfelt preparations. Media lenses captured the solemn arrivals of figures like Prince Andrew, Sarah Ferguson, and Lady Sarah Keswick Chatto, all clad in black, observing age-old traditions with mourning armbands and veiled hats. Every detail carried weight, reinforcing the gravity of a farewell that was shaping more than just memories. It was shaping the monarchy's future. On the morning of September 16th, London awoke beneath grey skies, a city draped in mourning. The Duchess's coffin, kept simple and dignified under a plain pall, arrived to the solemn peal of bells, a custom that echoed memories of Queen Elizabeth's own farewell. Inside the cathedral, the nave bloomed with floral tributes, each arrangement reflecting Catherine Worley's lifelong love of gardens. Catherine entered with William at her side, dressed in a sharp black coat and pearl earrings reminiscent of the late Queen's timeless style. Her calm presence shone like a beacon in the heavy air. The absence of Camilla, sidelined by sinusitis and represented only by a palace statement of regret, added an extra layer of intrigue. With Camilla out of view, the stage opened for Catherine's prominence, setting the emotional tone for the honour that would soon unfold. The service itself was carefully woven with personal touches. Hymns the Duchess adored, and a heartfelt eulogy delivered by a close UNICEF colleague, tying together her private passions with the royal tapestry. As the Requiem Mass began, the stained glass windows cast ethereal light across the gathered royals, but quietly, the room's attention shifted toward Catherine. Positioned near the front, she joined the procession with steps that were steady and graceful, embodying the respect the moment demanded. With Latin prayers and choral anthems rising around her, the liturgy became both a tribute to faith and a stage for Catherine's rising role. Catherine's role went far beyond simply being present. She stood before the congregation to read a passage from Corinthians on love and endurance, her steady voice echoing through the cathedral and drawing clear lines between scripture and the Duchess's life of quiet strength. This wasn't some random choice. It was a carefully planned part of the transition, fulfilling the late royal's vision for the future. Insiders later described the atmosphere as electric, yet deeply personal. King Charles, seated close to the Duke, shared subtle glances with Catherine. a silent exchange of recognition in the incense-filled air. At her side, William's calm support highlighted their unity, a picture of partnership under pressure. The Pope's tribute praising Catherine Worley's charity legacy was followed by family reflections, but Catherine's presence quietly stole the spotlight. She moved with purpose, consoling younger relatives like Lady Eloise Taylor with maternal warmth, her touch reassuring amid the grief. As the Eucharist marked the high point of the service, murmurs rippled through the pews. Catherine's elevated standing was undeniable. It was the kind of role Queen Camilla might have once held, yet with Camilla absent, Catherine stepped into that space seamlessly, leading prayers for the Kent legacy with calm authority. That moment didn't just reveal her composure, it exposed her growth, showing how she's steadily becoming the monarchy's guiding presence. From her early days as Duchess of Cambridge to the present, Catherine has weathered health trials and the weight of public duty with quiet resilience. Much like Lady Worley, her devotion to service carried a profound respect for tradition, transforming grief into purpose. As the Mass concluded, the congregation rose for the final blessing, solemn, reverent, unaware that the true revelation lay just ahead. What followed would cement Catherine's place in the monarchy's evolving hierarchy. The moment came not with pomp, but with gravity. During the post-Mass gathering, as the family assembled for private reflections, King Charles rose. His words, deliberate and resonant, cut through the silence. He confirmed the granting of Kent authorities to Catherine, patronages, household oversight, and representational duties, fulfilling both the late Duchess's wishes and the Duke's hopes. Emotion rippled through the room. The Duke, visibly moved, stepped forward. With trembling hands, he placed a family heirloom, a brooch from Catherine Worley's collection, into Catherine's palm. It was more than a keepsake, it was a seal of succession, a passing of trust and legacy. This act, long prepared in hushed palace meetings, brought to life the private letters the Duchess had written, letters in which she placed unwavering faith in Catherine's ability to carry forward the Kent charitable ethos. In a monarchy where roles are most often secured by blood, the symbolism of this voluntary handoff was profound. It underscored a rare trust in merit, in character, and in the future. Catherine accepted with a dignified nod. Then, in a gesture at once personal and ceremonial, she kissed the king's cheek and curtsied. Photographers, permitted just briefly, captured the moment, an image that would soon circle the globe. For Charles, insiders say, it was more than sentiment. With the Duke's years advancing, he saw in Catherine's new role a stabilizing force for the family's continuity. The authority she assumed was not hollow. It meant guiding Kent-linked events such as veterans' commemorations, causes that aligned naturally with her established patronage work. This was no grasp for power. It was preservation, ensuring that the Kent legacy would endure without burdening frailty. The moment reverberated through the cathedral like a quiet thunderclap. Catherine's stature, already formidable, rose palpably. Her new responsibilities became a badge of confidence bestowed by the sovereign himself. Historians whispered comparisons to the Queen Mother's emergent roles in the last century, yet here it felt modern, deliberate, and distinctly Catherine's. The absence of Queen Camilla at the Duchess of Kent's funeral on September 16, 2025, was impossible to ignore, a void that cast long shadows over the solemnity of Westminster Cathedral. The palace cited a bout of sinusitis, yet her non-attendance ignited a flurry of speculation. Among royal watchers, whispers swirled that it was more than mere inconvenience. Camilla, whose public role as Queen Consort has frequently intersected with Kent patronages, particularly in the arts and charitable spheres, had been expected to take a prominent place in honouring Catherine's legacy. Her absence, therefore, became more than a mission, it became a statement. Into that silence stepped Catherine, the Princess of Wales, her presence magnified in Camilla's shadow. With no rival claim on the moment, her composure and authority radiated unchallenged. The gap, unintended or not, amplified the symbolic weight of her new responsibilities. To many observers, it signaled more than continuity. It suggested recalibration. Beneath the hymns and ritual, subtle questions rose about shifting alliances, altered priorities, and whether the monarchy was quietly charting a new course for its future. Insiders close to the palace insist there was no calculated slight. Camilla's health concerns, they maintain, were genuine. with officials emphasising that her recovery was prioritised ahead of a looming state visit to Australia later in September. Yet the timing proved combustible. For many, her absence from such a high-profile family farewell, especially one bound so tightly to the Kents, with whom she long enjoyed warm ties, was impossible to overlook. Some royal commentators framed it as a simple matter of prudence. Others, however, saw signals in the shadows. Her lighter public diary in recent months, they argued, suggested more than rest, a possible strategic retreat, clearing the stage for younger royals like Catherine to ascend. Whispered even more quietly were the tensions, Camilla's traditional role as queen consort occasionally rubbing against the Wales's vision of a sleeker, more modern monarchy. Whatever the truth, the optics were undeniable. Camilla's absence created space, Catherine filled seamlessly, embodying the Kent legacy without distraction or competing narrative. For those watching closely, the moment felt less accidental than orchestrated, clarity born from carefully managed silence. This dynamic was never just about one empty pew. It revealed deeper currents flowing through the royal family. The attendance of figures like Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, despite their complicated standing, signalled King Charles's determination to preserve unity in moments of mourning. Yet it was Catherine and William whose harmony resonated most powerfully. Their seamless coordination stood in stark contrast to past fractures, particularly the lingering estrangement with the Sussexes. Catherine's elevation to oversee Kent responsibilities marked more than a ceremonial shift. It positioned her as both the emotional anchor and operational steward of the monarchy's next generation, a figure trusted to steady the institution through turbulence, including her own health battles in 2024. Her connection with the Kents, built on shared values of discretion and service, now cast her as a living bridge between the monarchy's storied traditions and its reimagined future. The funeral also underscored Catherine's deft command of her public image. Where Camilla's tenure has often carried the weight of history's controversies, Catherine has cultivated a reputation that is at once relatable and unmistakably regal. Her composure at Westminster, whether consoling younger royals or delivering a reading with quiet conviction, embodied the same understated strength that defined the late Duchess of Kent. In that balance of grace and gravitas, observers saw not simply a mourner, but a leader in waiting. This moment cemented Catherine as a unifying force, someone capable not only of carrying forward the Kent legacy, but of reshaping the monarchy's very approach. By stepping into a role Queen Camilla might once have filled, Catherine didn't merely occupy a vacancy, she redefined it. Her prominence signalled a monarchy edging away from rigid hierarchy toward one that prizes capability and empathy. The broader implications are striking, with the Duke of Kent in advanced years and Camilla increasingly selective in her public engagements. Catherine's new responsibilities reveal a crown leaning on her as a stabilizing presence across its branches. This isn't about sidelining the Queen consort, but about redistributing duties to reflect the realities of health, age, and shifting public expectations. The Kents' explicit endorsement, drawn from a lineage deeply loyal to Queen Elizabeth II, strengthened Catherine's standing, insulating her from skepticism and anchoring her in tradition even as she moves the institution forward. As Britain demands a monarchy that feels both transparent and relevant, Catherine's rise speaks to a quiet revolution within the House of Windsor. Here, competence and connection are emerging as the new measures of royal authority. And in the hushed aftermath of the Duchess of Kent's funeral on September 16, 2025, the echoes of Westminster Cathedral lingered not only as a farewell to a beloved royal, but as the moment Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped decisively into her role as the monarchy's future. Her acceptance of the Kent authorities, bestowed by King Charles in a moment both solemn and symbolic, was far more than a ceremonial handoff. It signalled Catherine's emergence as a central figure in a monarchy navigating uncharted waters. Steeped in grief yet infused with purpose, the gesture underscored her ascent as a steward of legacy, entrusted with safeguarding the Kent family's quiet devotion to service while guiding the wider royal household toward a future that feels both modern and firmly rooted in tradition. Catherine's new role is no mere formality. The Kent portfolio, encompassing patronages in music, veterans' affairs, and international charities, aligns seamlessly with her own passions for early childhood development, mental health, and global outreach. Her work through the Royal Foundation, along with her tireless advocacy for well-being, echoes the Duchess's lifelong preference for causes over spectacle. By stepping into this space, Catherine bridges generations, ensuring the Kent ethos of understated service endures. This is not about replacing the Duchess of Kent, but about amplifying her vision through a modern lens, a task Catherine has already proven adept at through her empathetic, hands-on approach to public life. The significance of this moment extends far beyond the cathedral's walls. It marks a monarchy in transition, one seeking to balance centuries-old ritual with the expectations of a fast-moving, often skeptical public. Catherine's rise reflects a deliberate pivot toward a royal family that places authenticity and relatability at the heart of its identity. Her conduct during the funeral made that shift tangible. From consoling grieving relatives with quiet compassion to delivering scripture with measured strength, she projected a leadership style that was both personal and authoritative. This was more than fulfilling the Duchess's final wish. It was a public declaration of trust. Both King Charles and the Duke of Kent affirmed her capacity to bridge disparate branches of the family, offering stability at a time shadowed by health crises and relentless scrutiny. What makes the transition so compelling is the emotional resonance it carries. The Kent narrative, scarred by private losses yet defined by resilience, mirrors Catherine's own journey through health challenges and the unyielding glare of media attention. Their stories converge in this moment, transforming personal grief into a shared legacy of endurance and service. By embracing their legacy, Catherine offers comfort to a grieving duke while carving out a role where duty and humanity coexist. It's a move that proves the monarchy's adaptability, evolving without abandoning its core. For the Kents, it secures continuity. For Catherine, it cements her as the emotional and operational heart of the family. The wider implications are hard to miss. Her elevation hints at a monarchy leaning on figures who embody service over spectacle, a vision she and William have consistently championed through their focus on family, mental health, and authentic connection. Out of farewell has come reinvention, reframing the crown as a family bound by shared values, not just titles. So, what do you think? Does Catherine's new role signal the dawn of a more relatable royal era, or does it risk unsettling tradition? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this insight compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal deep dives.